Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. So seeing as that Halloween is coming up next week, I thought I would do a video discussing all of my favorite spooky things, books, music, and movies. Before we get into it, I wanted to show you my newest favorite eyeshadow palette. This is from Makeup Revolution. They did a limited edition Simpsons Halloween Treehouse of Horror themed line. There's lip products, there's some cheek products, there's a couple of eyeshadow palettes, and the one that I got was this one. This is from, of course, the Raven episode. What was that, season 2? Season 3? And so these are the shades. They're beautiful. Neutral, but it's what I'm wearing on my eyes today, and I absolutely love these shades. The shade Zombie is my favorite. It's this one. It's kind of a shimmery brown color, but it has a lot of dimension to it. There's also the Raven, Monkey's Paw, Hell to Pay. I think Hell to Pay is one of the more underrated Treehouse of Horror stories. I don't hear that much about it, but my God, it's so funny. It's so good, right? Nevermore. Obviously, Eel Pie. I didn't like that one. That was the Mutton Chop Killer, Mutton Chop Murderer. That one, yeah. Unearthly, Zombie, and Gravestone. So anyway, I will start off with my favorite scary books. Obviously, Stephen King is on this list. How could he not be? My personal favorites from Stephen King, and I would say the books that unnerved me or just plain scared me the most, definitely Pet Sematary. That is number one. I have discussed this in previous videos. I've discussed it over on my book channel as well. I did not like the movie. I've only seen the first one, the bad one. I haven't seen the update, but the book itself is terrifying. And Bag of Bones. Again, this is a book that you don't hear too much about. It's basically a ghost story. It's about a husband. It's about a man who loses his wife, and she comes back and starts haunting him. It's a really simple premise, and I think it's one of his best. The Ruins isn't scary the way that like Pet Sematary would be scary. Actually, if I were to compare it to a Stephen King book, I would compare it to The Shining, because you're completely at the mercy of something that you don't understand and that is absolutely trying to kill you. Also have The Troop on here by Nick Cutter. I read this just this past year. If you want a really good, gory, gross zombie book, I definitely recommend The Troop. And Helter Skelter, which I have discussed before. It's the story of the Manson murders. It was written by the prosecutor in the Manson trial, Vince Bugliosi, and it's the scariest book that I've ever read. So next we're going to get into films. So Creepshow and Creepshow 2. Creepshow, the original, was released in '82, I believe, and Creepshow 2 was released in 1987. Love both of these movies. They are campy. They're definitely of the 80s. My favorite in the first Creepshow is, of course, the story starring Leslie Nielsen as a man who finds out that his wife is cheating on him, and he thinks of a very sick, twisted way to punish his wife and his wife's lover. So great. And then in the second Creepshow, the one that gets me the most is the kids who drive out to a lake, and they're just like having fun, getting naked, and there's this blob, hungry tar that terrorizes them. And to this day, whenever I see a lake, you know, it's still, it's peaceful, all I can think of is that there is an alien tar blob lurking beneath the surface, ready to eat people. Next up is Blade 2. It was directed by Guillermo del Toro. I do love the first Blade movie, but the second one is definitely my favorite. It's a great story. The script is terrific. The effects are outstanding. and it's scary. I mean, it's gory and it's scary. Obviously, having Ron Perlman in your film is a big plus. And I also want to acknowledge the actor Luke Goss, who played Jared Nomek, who is the main villain in the film. He does not get enough credit. He is absolutely terrific. So freaking scary. And I think a very formidable opponent of Blade's. When the two of them have their fight scenes, it's intense, and Blade is pretty well matched. I love how with this character, Nomek, even though he's terrifying, he also plays it with this inner rage that he has, this rage and also this confusion as to what's happened to him, what he's been turned into. What else in this movie? That great song by Massive Attack with Mos Def. That song's on my phone. I love that song. Eye Against Eye. What else? And Donnie Yen. I do wish there was more Donnie Yen in this film, though. But John Carpenter's The Thing, of course, it's a classic, needs no other explanation. And I've also included Nightmare on Elm Street. So the first Nightmare on Elm Street remains my favorite, as I think it does for everybody. I did not like the second one. I did not like the third one. I know the third one is pretty popular, and it ranks in a lot of people's like top 3. The kills were good, and you know, Freddy was awesome, of course, but I just thought that a lot of it was incredibly cheesy, like to the point where it was like uncomfortable to watch, you know. I loved 4. 4 is my favorite. That's the Dream Master, and then 5 is the Dream Child, which I also really liked, and then I also loved Freddy's New Nightmare. And then my favorite scary movie of all time, this is the movie that I recommend to everybody who hasn't seen it, is Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead was released in 1985. It is a horror comedy, and it is a true horror comedy. It is legitimately funny and legitimately scary. The film was written and directed by Dan O'Bannon, who also wrote the script to the original Alien movie. The script is excellent. The acting is good. The effects are terrific. I think they hold up just as well today. It's all practical effects. Who did the effects? Let me find out. William Munn did the effects. So, it's my favorite zombie movie of all time and my favorite horror movie of all time. My favorite scene in the movie, and I think the creepiest scene in the movie, is the beginning sequence where Frank is showing Freddy around the Unita Army surplus store, where Freddy just got his job, and they are sitting in Frank's office, and Freddy asks him, "What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in here?" And that's when Frank launches into this story of this chemical that was used to spray on plants or something. And one of the side effects was that it reanimates bodies, corpses. So I really love everything about this movie. I think everything is superb. The acting, the writing, the directing, the effects, the pacing. And I love how original the story is. I think with a lot of zombie shows or zombie movies, it's never explained what the origin is. And I never liked that. I always want to know. Like, one of my biggest of many beefs of The Walking Dead, which I no longer watch, but back when I was watching it, was Rick coming out of his coma never once asks anyone upon waking up what happened. That would be like my first question. What happened? How did this happen? You're seeing dead bodies chasing you and rotting in the streets, and they're moving, and how did that happen? That would be kind of an important question, and it's never even addressed. Anyway, on to music. So, for my favorite spooky albums, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Murder Ballads, obviously. Again, it really needs no explanation. It's pretty damn creepy from start to finish. PJ Harvey, To Bring You My Love, is a very dark, dense, spooky sounding album. Also Boys for Pele by Tori Amos. So this album was recorded after she had a breakup of a long-term relationship, and it's a very intense album, and she plays the harpsichord in a lot of songs. It just adds the sound of the harpsichord, gives the songs a very spooky, unsettling feeling. Eyes Wide Shut, the movie score. Didn't like the movie, but I do think that the score is fantastic and really, really chilling. The score to The Crow and the score to the movie The Piano, the Jane Campion film, was not a huge fan of the film, but the score, I've listened to it countless times. I used to listen to it every day, and it's fantastic. Also Portishead, their debut album Dummy, as well as their self-titled album, both incredibly chilling, haunting stuff. And I have a song as well. It's Scare Tale by Nightwish. It's off the Imaginarium album. This song is, I've said before, it's Halloween in a song. It's kind of depressing that the first song that people think of when they think of Halloween is that stupid Monster Mash song. I hate that song. And that's such a stupid representation of, like, Halloween. It should be Scare Tale by Nightwish, guys. And I will link it below for your listening pleasure. So, I guess that about wraps it up. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that scares me. How about, I'm just kidding. This is my favorite Simpsons episode, The Springfield Files. It's from season 8. So many jokes, and it's just from beginning to end, man. And they're all golden. They all land. Whenever I think about the scene with Mo, he's got the orca in the back of his bar, and he goes back in the bar, and he's like, all right, they're on to us, get them back to SeaWorld. And then there's another scene where he's carrying the orca like through the forest, and he's like, God, who would have thought a whale would be so heavy? And I laugh every goddamn time. Every time I see it. It's gold, man. So that wraps it up for real this time. Those are my favorite spooky things. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe, leave a like, and I will be back next week. I'm going to talk about movies next week. So no book stuff, no music stuff. I'm going to talk about my favorite scary movies. How's that? I'll see you then. Take care.